Welcome to another fun-filled Monday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Mrs. Lakeena McGee, which is she. I'm Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Lakeena McGee on the Twitter and at Lakeena McGee on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. You want to know why? Because we said so, that's why. And also, you can catch our other 5 live shows throughout the week. So if you happen to miss them, you can go back and listen to them and watch them at your own leisure. So make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. Speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, you can get at us via all socials on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Please find Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. If you want to subscribe to our podcast, you can do so by subscribing to War on Anchor. We are available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. Make sure you type this in your search engine boxes on those podcast platforms. You ready? WARR on Anchor. Once again, that's War on Anchor on those podcast platforms. And make sure you give War Media a follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at WARR Media. Once again, that War Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions due to our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show, you can always get at us on the comments section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something stupid, I've given Lakeena full power to give you fools to build a beer boot.
Bye-bye.
Alone she says that. But before we begin, we must remind you that you can now catch Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. That's right. Get with the program and celebrate with the squad. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on the sports photo and download the Sports Zone Chicago app through that avenue. If you don't have a Roku TV, you have a few handheld devices hanging around. iPad, iTouch, iPhone, BlackBerry, those are still hanging around. Your personal PC, your Chromebook like I'm using right now, just download the Roku TV app and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, live and on demand.
Trigger, flow over the top, and go.
Boy, a lot of pressure on Fields. He gave it to Evans, and Darrington Evans without Fields. Fields under pressure. Stepping up and throwing. And he's got a receiver in Dante. This one angles in to make it a few weeks. Much better in the second half for Green Bay so far on the defensive end. Now trying to contain Fields. Looking for N'Keal Harry! What a catch! 5 in the pattern. 5 in the pattern for Rodgers. Over the middle for Tunyon and incomplete.
He locked his fingers around it.
Yep. Now they give to Montgomery and they get a first down. Out near the 40, I swear. Here is Fields. Over the middle on the slant, and it's Cole Kmet. 2nd and 7. Fields to Kmet. Can't get out of bounds, but gets the first down inside the 40. Fields launches it. He's intercepted.
All right, those highlights are courtesy of the NFL on Fox as the Chicago Bears go down to the Green Bay Packers by the score of 28-19. The Bears are 3-10 on the season, while the Packers improved their record to 5-8. Lakeena, as yesterday, I'll be honest here. Trust me, as I said on our show last Friday, I want the Bears to win. I want them to beat the Packers like anybody else. But yesterday, I don't have the energy to muster up to get angry. You know what I mean? Because we know that the Bears are not very good. We know the Packers are not very good, but they with that late second quarter touchdown to Christian Watson, who helped me in my fantasy team briefly, it was over from there. The Bears defense actually played like an actual NFL defense during the most of that first half, but in the second half, they were gone for naught. And on the flip side, Justin Fields did look a little bit better besides outside those 2 picks. But Lakeena, I'll be honest with you, I can't muster up the courage to get upset. You know, I don't do fake emotions on this show. I just can't do it. We know they're not very good. They had their chances, but Maybe it's something wrong with me. I don't know. You let me know, but I can't muster up the courage to get upset over nothing. I can't.
I think you're not the yeah, I'm sure you're not the only person who feels that way, Sid. I mean, they had a great start, that early, they went up 10-0 at the end of the first
Hmm.
quarter. Justin Fields like Justin Fields. You had that 56-yard, rushing touchdown and such, that kind of, got the ball rolling. The crowd was getting into it and
Hmm.
such. But after the second quarter, the Packers started getting going and yeah, and Kyra Santos missed an extra point, and that kind of came back to bite him in the butt as well. Also, too, he missed a key field goal early on in the fourth, but the Packers scored 18 points in the fourth, and that was all she wrote from there. And Christian Watson, this was continuing his with that touchdown that kind of got the ball rolling, and he also had a rushing touchdown. Watson, I'm talking about, and also AJ
Hmm.
Dillon had a rushing touchdown as well. So look, I mean, Aaron Rodgers really didn't do too much. Aaron Rodgers, he was 18 with 31, 182 yards and a
Hmm.
touchdown pass. But as our buddy Vern Fairley say, y'all saw in the comments on YouTube, of course, comment on Facebook, YouTube, and
Hmm.
also Twitter as well. He said, "Look, he still owns the Bears. He's like what 26, like 26 and like 5 now again. He's like 26 and 5 now. Bears and against the Bears, including the playoffs. There's also this stat that shout out to the guys at Fox for bringing this up. That gives them the Packers a 787 edge, 787 786. This is the first time since 1921 that the Bears not own at least a share of the all-time wins at this point. So longest robber in NFL, and the Bears, are still owned by Aaron Rodgers. He said bye-bye, and we'll see. We'll see if that's gonna be the last time we actually see him in Soldier Field. But yeah, he said bye-bye, and it just it was just terrible. And look, Fields, to his credit, he tried to play. He actually looked good for a little bit, but then you saw, some of the things that some of the stuff he really didn't like too much. He threw 2 interceptions. He wasn't sacked, thank goodness. But
Hmm.
Jair Alexander was the kind of like the game clincher there. So it is what it is.
Shout out to our guy, Money Earning Mount Vernon once again. Vernon Fairley says, Bears fans, if they continue this trend in a few years from now, it may be time to let this franchise go. We'll see what happens with that. Probably in a few years, they'll move to Arlington Heights, but we'll get into that part another time. But regarding the game yesterday, you mentioned Justin Fields did look good in some spots. He actually threw like a quarterback, as we said on the show, Lakeena, and I'll continue to say it again. Yes, it's great when he runs, but he also throws too. We saw that at Ohio State, and we've seen it at times throughout his short Chicago Bears career, and we saw it again yesterday. Yes, we like when he runs; he creates first downs to keep drives alive. But he can throw too. He's not old school Michael Vick when he was looking to 1 or 2 targets that he decided to take out because he wanted to do his own thing. Justin Fields can play the positions, folks. He's not a running quarterback, so people think that he cannot play the position. That's nonsense. And Jace Claypool, you would think he would start to see a little bit more of the targets yesterday. He did lose a fumble, but outside of that, Equan St. Brown was the leader in the receiving yards with 85. So that was encouraging to see. But uh, you still like to see the ball spread around a little bit more, and that's what I'm looking forward to seeing from this Bears team as we go into the last month of the season. How much more can Justin Fields pick up the defenses quickly and spread that ball around? Cole Kmet got a couple of catches, especially in that last drive yesterday, so that was encouraging to see. You think you almost forgot about him in the majority of the game, but he came up with 6 catches overall for 72 yards, and so that's a great encouraging sign in the rushing department. Fields had that nice long touchdown run again. Like you said, it was great that he wasn't sacked. So that's a small improvement. You like to see that. But David Montgomery had 61 yards, which was second on the team. So the offense wasn't really the problem, Lakeena, outside those 2 picks. But their defense, once again, Lakeena, I'm not surprised. The only thing I was surprised was up until that touchdown from Watson to end the first half.
Yeah,
they kept the Packers off the scoreboard in terms of touchdowns.
Yeah, they did. They did make plays, for a little while. Jack Sanborn. I know people are very high on him. I know Jalen Jones had a couple of key tackles as well. but they didn't sack Aaron Rodgers, not once. As our buddy Dave Watson would say, his jersey was too from CHGO Bulls. We'll get to the Bulls in a second, but his jersey was too clean. I'm talking about Aaron Rodgers. So
yes, no sacks from the Bears defense.
Yeah, there were no like Rodgers didn't really help himself, with some of those throws. Some of those throws were very iffy at times, but he settled in, and what that touchdown I think was really kind of what opened the floodgates for Green Bay, if you will. And I think unfortunately you saw some of the bad habits, wide open guys and such. So Randall Cobb has some big plays to keep the chains moving. Alan Lazard, did his thing. So AJ Dillon as well. So it really wasn't. The Bears defense unfortunately showed their true colors. Unfortunately, and then Cobb had a couple of key drops, I should say, but it was Alan Lazard, of course, Christian Watson and AJ Dillon. So those were the guys that kind of kept the drives going for the Packers once Aaron Rodgers sort of settled in. So I mean, there's really nothing more you can say. I mean, with some of your top defensive guys, either traded or done for the year because of injuries, this is what you're going to be seeing for the rest of the season for the Bears defense.
Yeah, have any questions or comments regarding yesterday's loss for the Bears to the Green Bay Packers 28-19 on the lakefront at Soldier Field? You can hit us up in the comment section on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comment section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. Just a couple of the nuggets, Lakeena, before we break for the bottom of the hour and return to recap the rest of the action from yesterday, because there was some action on and off the field from yesterday from the rest of the league. We'll get to that on the other side. But I was encouraged by Velus Jones Jr., the rookie wide receiver out of Tennessee. He had 4 returns for 112 yards total with the long return early in the game for 42 yards. So it looks like head coach Matt Eberflus is starting to trust him a little bit more. I know he was deactivated for a few games early in the season, but it looks like he's starting to gain the head coach gain the trust of the head coaching staff.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what you want to see, right? You want to see him getting better and better. As I'm hoping this is encouraging, so I'm hoping he kind of be sort of like that key, one of the key guys at the very least that Fields can depend on. But we'll see what happens. But look, I don't want to talk about this game too much today. I'll be honest. I had the game in the background. I was watching. Thankfully, they had Jets and Vikings, opposite here. So I just kind of turned into that, and I turned into some of the other games that are on the computer here. So, I know we're up against it, so we'll just take a break after and then we'll do the rest of the league. But I think for me, as far as the Bears, I mean, look, they're on bye, so that's a good thing. You don't have to worry. We don't have to worry about watching the Bears game on Sunday or predict when. Yay! Thank God. Like I said, I'm over that. So let's just. I'm one of those folks that, let's just get to the end of the season. Let's just get to these last 5 weeks and just get to the end of this season, because I'm at that point where I'm kind of like Alex Brown said on the Bears post game show on ABC Sports Chicago. Just in the rest of the season, you're not going to gain anything. Yes, he looked good, but there's a reason why he didn't run too much in the second half. I'm just saying. Yeah.
And Lakeena, we'll do you a favor and we'll send this to break just a little bit early so you can cool off, because there was some other action from around the league yesterday. We'll recap the rest of the Week 13 action from the National Football League, and we'll give you our studs and duds, and we'll give you a quick preview of tonight's Monday Night Football contest. That and a whole lot more. And if you're listening to the Monday edition of Second City Sports, we're live in living color. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Oh, I'm sorry. Welcome back to Second City Sports. We're live and in living color for a Monday edition. We're kicking it right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at Keenan McGee on the IG.
You can get at us via the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comment sections. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. Now let's recap the rest of the Week 13 action from yesterday in the National Football League. We'll start off in Atlanta, where the Atlanta Falcons now dropped their record to 5-8 overall after losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers by the score of 19-16. Kenny Pickett for the Steelers, 16-28, 197 yards and a touchdown. Najee Harris, I should say, ran the ball 17 times for 86 yards for Pittsburgh. And Drake London, the rookie wide receiver for Atlanta, 6 catches, 95 yards.
Yeah, this was actually look, Steelers were up big. The Falcons tried to get back, but a key interception from Marcus Mariota that kind of still did it for them for the Falcons. Shout out to our girl Christine Manica, who's the only one. She's the only one that picked the Steelers in this game. So she was right. And they just couldn't get things going. I'm talking about Atlanta. They got it together a little bit late, but it wasn't enough. The Steelers did just enough to win this game.
Next, let's go to Motown, where the Detroit Lions had proved their record to 5-7 after a 40-14 thrashing of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I got this game wrong too. Jared Goff for the Lions was 31-41, 340 yards and 2 touchdowns. DeAndre Swift ran the ball for the Lions 14 times for 62 yards and a score. Amon St. Brown for the Lions, 11 catches, 114 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Well, this is why I always say the Jags. We didn't know which Jags team we were going to get. They had a rough start. They tried to get it going again, but they just couldn't do it. So, unfortunately, I know Trevor Lawrence got a little bit banged up, so he had to go away for a little bit at the beginning of the third quarter. But look, the Lions, to their credit, look, they jumped on them early, and they jumped on them and didn't really look back. So, the defense, did their thing. Goff didn't make any mistakes. Swift and Jamal Williams each had a touchdown. So it was just one of those games. Look, Detroit's 5-7. Then don't look now, folks, but they're in the top. They're in the hunt for one of those wild card spots.
I'll throw this question out there to Lions fans and Bears fans in particular. Even though the Lions are improving, they have 2 more wins than the Bears. Which future is brighter on paper, Detroit's future or the Bears' future? The reason why I asked that question because the Lions have 2 first-round picks this year. One of them was from the Matthew Stafford trade from last year. Of course, the Rams will get to them in a couple of minutes. But if the Rams should lose out, the Rams are tanking not for themselves; they're tanking for the Lions.
Yeah,
If you're the Lions, it looks great on paper. The upper management knows what to do with the picks.
Well, yeah, so they got some new guys over there now, but with new people over there now. So I don't think that'll be a big problem there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I said, we got to wait and see because
Mhm,
look, the Bears got some draft capital, but they need more. They've got money in the
mhm.
cap, but we know that Poles is not gonna spend it all. So just gotta wait and see. We'll see during the off season.
Okay. To the Twin Cities, we head towards next, where the Minnesota Vikings improved their record to 10-2 after holding on to a 27-22 win over the New York Jets. Mike White for the Jets was 31 and 57, 369 yards, but he threw 2 bad interceptions. Mr. Zonovan Knight for the Jets ran the ball 15 times for 90 yards, and Garrett Wilson had 8 catches for 162 yards. Justice Jefferson had the eventual go-ahead touchdown to start the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and I think that's what ended up, that ended up being like the key there because the Jets, they tried to catch up. I mean, they were up
Mhm.
10, yeah, they scored 10 points in the fourth quarter, and unfortunately, 2 very bad interceptions by White, especially near the end of that, and that was sort of like that sealed it for them. And look, the Jets had their shots. I mean, look, the Vikings were really stopped advancing the balls, especially late in that fourth quarter. So the Jets have
Mhm.
more than enough chances to try to win it, but those interceptions by Mike White just sealed it. And shout out to Cameron Bynum. I think that's just his second interception, I believe, or I think that was his first interception of his career. So that sealed it for them. But yeah, yeah, it got interesting late, but
Mhm.
the Jets unfortunately became the Jets, and that ended up sealing it for them.
Also, Dalvin Cook for the Vikings had a rushing touchdown in there as well. And shout out to our good colleague and friend of Second City Sports, Miss Dawn Mitchell of Fox 9 in the Twin Cities. She had a birthday over the weekend, so happy birthday, belated birthday to her. So she does a great job covering the Vikings for Fox 9 in the Fox Sports family at large. So happy belated birthday to her.
Yes, yes.
Next, let's go to MetLife Stadium. For the first time since 1997, the Gus Frerotte headbutt game, the New York Giants and the Washington Commanders ended up tying each other at 20. You can't make this stuff up, folks. Taylor Heineke for the Commanders, 27-41, 275 yards and 2 touchdown passes. Mr. Robinson, a.k.a. Mr. Brian Robinson Jr. for the Commanders, 21 carries for 96 yards. And Terry McLaurin, 8 catches, 105 yards in the game-tying touchdown in the fourth quarter. Lakeena, I did watch the remainder of this game via this computer screen. The Giants, that you thought they took control of this game from you felt like they had control of this game to many parts of it, especially late in that second half, but they just couldn't hold the lead, and which led to the historic tie. Lakeena, like many people on question the New York Giants, their schedule is tough to end the season. Can they make the playoffs? Sure, but it's going to be tough. These two teams play again in a couple of weeks, but you can blow leads just like that. I know officially goes down as a tie, but if you're a Giants player, that had to feel like a loss.
It really did. I mean, like you said, I mean, going to the fourth quarter, the Giants had control, but Heineke and the rest of the Commanders were able to go down the field. Of course, McLaren with that, proving that he's worth that big money with that big touchdown catch. It kind of felt like, especially after they exchanged possessions, no one wanted to win this game. Like they, Jones were passing the ball. You don't know where, I don't know where he was passing the ball at. The running backs. I know. Saquon Barkley felt like he was slowing down a little bit, so it was just one of those things where it kind of felt like nobody wanted to win this game. It was sort of like a weird chess match, especially when they got tied, especially when they forced to overtime. You really didn't know what was going to happen, and the Giants have felt like they didn't want to win it. And I know the Commanders, I know Jones got sacked and everything else, and and then Heineke got sacked a couple of times during that overtime. So it really felt like nobody wanted to win this game, it seems. So we'll see if a tie could it actually help one of these teams when it comes to wild cards and tiebreakers, sure, but it could also not help them. So how's that work for us for our stats, because we I think I think Christine picked the Giants and we picked the Commanders.
Commanders, yep. So
So
I think it'll probably just end up in a tie.
a tie or something. How does that work? I don't know.
I think it'd be fair to just end up in a tie. Up the East Coast, we go next to Philadelphia, where the Eagles dominated the Tennessee Titans 35-10. Jalen Hurts 29-39 for 380 yards and 3 touchdowns for the Eagles. Ryan Tannehill was your leading rusher for Tennessee. We'll tell you why in just a minute. He had 3 carries for 34 yards, but A.J. Brown in his revenge game ever since he was traded from Tennessee to Philadelphia during the draft last year. He had 8 catches for 119 yards and 2 touchdowns. Lakeena, I did watch most of the first half in its entirety live via this computer screen. The Philadelphia Eagles look dominant, and that was mostly very disappointing in the Titans. Usually, we know they're not a dominating defense, but they're an opportunistic defense. The Philadelphia Eagles didn't have a strong running game yesterday, but they didn't get to Jalen Hurts aggressively enough for me, and their secondary was just shot yesterday, and Philadelphia did whatever they wanted.
Yes, on the plus side for the Philadelphia defense, they did sack, Tannehill 6 times. Now they did, the Titans defense did get to Hurts, but it really didn't mean much after that, but after the fact. And it's interesting that you said that about the Eagles having 350 passing yards. They also had 350 rushing yards last week. They became just the 3rd team since yards for first track all the way back in 1933 to record 350 rush yards one week and then 350 plus passing yards the next week. So, or vice versa. So, I mean, it was a dominant performance, and it was just like it felt like, what was the effort there? I mean, they did, look, to their credit, they did score in their opening drive, but they really couldn't do too much to talk about the offense. They really couldn't do too much after that. So, they stopped, letting Henry, rush the ball because they were stopping him, and Tannehill ended up carrying the ball a couple of times, which you're like, what's going on here? But but look, I think the Eagles are showing you why they have the best record in the NFL.
Yeah, so the Eagles are now 11-1 overall. The Titans dropped their record to 7-5. Excuse me. Down the East Coast we go next to Baltimore, Maryland, where the Baltimore Ravens had a comeback of ugly epic proportions, if you can say that 5 times fast, of epic proportions, as they defeated the Denver Broncos 10-9. Tyler Huntley scored the game-winning touchdown. That's right, I said it. Tyler Huntley scored the game-winning touchdown in the 4th quarter with less than 30 seconds left to go. Lamar Jackson went out of this game early with an apparent injury. We'll see what his status is for this upcoming weekend going forward. Baltimore needs him in a desperate way. You saw what happened last year when he was injured for the majority of the season. The Ravens did not even have a shot at the playoffs. But back to this game, Russell Wilson, 17-22, 189 yards. You worry about him. Latavius Murray for Denver, 17 carries, 47 yards. And Lakeena, I didn't even turn to this game. I just saw the highlights. It was ugly from the word go. But Baltimore improves their record to 8-4. Broncos 3-9. Baltimore just found a way to win an ugly football game.
Well, and I think this is what didn't help them last year, was that they were losing these ugly games. And Huntley's got a little bit of experience now, so I think he he let them down the field and such. Once he was brought in. So going to be very interesting to see what happens, especially with we've heard like different he could be out. I'm talking about Lamar Jackson. He could be out maybe a week or two, but then he could only be out for like maybe a few days. Could be playing this week, so no one really knows at this point about that knee injury. But it's nothing really serious or anything like that. So. That if you're a Baltimore fan, you'll take that as good news. But the Broncos had their chances to seal this game too. They were up 10-9, and look, Huntley, to his credit, was able to take the Ravens down the field and score that touchdown. And look, the defense did what they had to do. After giving up a couple of plays early, they kind of tamed the Broncos. The Broncos, unfortunately, another game where they could have won, but their offensive ineptness kept them out.
You think you'll watch the final games of the head coaching career of Nathan Hackett, but we'll see what happens with that. In the last of the early games, thank goodness there were no protests inside or outside the stadium. The fans were well behaved. I'm talking about Mr. Deshaun Watson, who made his season debut in almost 2 years in the Cleveland Browns uniform. He signed autographs for certain Browns fans before the game, but even though there was a lot of empty seats, the fans were pretty well behaved, where I could tell. I did watch the beginning of this game via this computer screen as the Cleveland Browns win an ugly affair over the Houston Texans 27-14. Kyle Allen for Houston, 20 of 39 for 201 yards and a touchdown pass. Nick Chubb for the Browns, 17 carries for 80 yards. And for Houston's Chris Moore, he had 3 catches for 46 yards. Donovan Peoples-Jones had a punt return for a touchdown there, which broke the game wide open for Cleveland. Cleveland's defense brought it yesterday. Deshaun Watson, as expected, didn't have great numbers, but as I said, the defense and the special teams helped carry the day for the Browns.
They really didn't need him to do too much, like you said. I mean, it was definitely, the defense, especially Myles Garrett. I mean, Myles Garrett, once again, showing you why he's a Pro Bowler. So I'm not, we'll give a shout out to the broadcast because I know, of course, our buddy Spiro Adidas and Jay Feely and Aditi. I can't say her last name. I'm so sorry, sweetie. But, they did a really nice job, keeping everything balanced. They did talk about the Watson situation early on, but they really didn't do too much of it after that.
Mm-hmm.
But he was like you said, he wasn't really a factor. I mean, like I said, that Peoples-Jones punt return for a TD was really sort of like the backbreaker. And to the Texans' credit, they kept it close for a little bit. They had a safety, but they just didn't really didn't have enough. So the Browns were able to kind of come out and win that game.
Yeah, I know all of us, including Christine, we all had Houston. They were in it for a while, but they just don't have the offensive talent outside of rookie running back Dameon Pierce to keep up. I know Brandon Cooks, their veteran wide receiver, was out yesterday, but still, Houston didn't have enough offensively to keep up. You're listening to Second City Sports. We're live in 11 color on the Monday edition right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. As we continue to recap the Week 13 action from the National Football League from yesterday. Lakeena, let's get into the late games. So we'll start off in Los Angeles, where the Seattle Seahawks received a late game-winning touchdown from DK Metcalf as the Seattle Seahawks defeated the LA Rams 27-23. Geno Smith 28 of 39 for 367 yards and 3 touchdown passes. Cam Akers for the Rams 17 carries for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Tyler Lockett 9 catches for 128 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, it was it was actually a pretty entertaining game. I actually kept this game in the background. I mean, the Rams, came out, swinging and came out early, but the Seahawks, once they settled in and they were able to go down the field with the Metcalf TD, and I think it was about 45 seconds left or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that sealed the win there. Also, Tariq Wooden had another interception. It's a 6th of the season, bringing a tie with Earl Thomas and Michael Boulware, I should say, who did in 2010 and 2004, respectively for the most picks by a Seattle rookie in the team history. So he's now tied with C.J. Gardner-Johnson for the NFL league in interceptions. So that helped, kept the Seahawks in it, and they were able to come back and win this game. We'll get to the Rams in a second. So with injuries and such, Stafford was out. Aaron Donald missed, I think, just the second game of his career. So, we'll get to them in a second. But I don't want to say they should tank, but maybe they should. But we talked about it earlier because they had the line. One of the picks is picks from the Lions because of the Stafford trade. But but the Seahawks, still right in the grass of those wild card spot in the playoffs at 7-5.
Yeah, the Rams dropped their record to 3-9. I will say this about the Rams before we move on. At least they have not quit. You had to give Sean McVay credit for that. The Rams have not quit. We know the season's over. They're not going to the playoffs. I think they'll be the first defending Super Bowl champions and the first ever, or the first in a long time, not to even make the playoffs after winning the Super Bowl the year before. So at least the Rams players who are dressing up, they have not quit. So that's at least a good encouraging sign. Let's go up the coast to San Francisco, where the 49ers lose their quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, to a now season-ending foot injury. But they held on to a 33-17 win over the Miami Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa 18-33 for 295 yards and 2 touchdowns for the Dolphins. Christian McCaffrey for the 49ers had 17 carries for 66 yards. Tyreek Hill 9 catches for 146 yards and a touchdown. Dre Greenlaw's scoop and score pays off for the 49ers defense late.
Yeah, and I saw that play where Jimmy G got hurt, and it was just a simple tackle, and I think he popped a couple of fractures in his foot, so that's why he's done for the year. Brock Purdy, who was Mr. Irrelevant in last spring's draft, had a couple of touchdown passes. So we'll get to, because there's a certain QB that's now on the market that the 49ers could be picking up, but we'll see. But we'll get to that in a second. But the defense was really kind of like the story there for the 49ers. They were able to kind of did just enough to win. Dolphins did keep it close for a little bit. but they did just enough make enough like big plays late. So the 49ers go to 8-4. So they're leading the division right now. But look, with Jimmy G out, of course, some breaking news, early this morning. Baker Mayfield has been released by the Panthers. So you wonder, could they be maybe the announced? So could they perhaps maybe try to pick him up? But
Real quick, I heard Louis Riddick on SportsCenter early this morning. He said that it wouldn't be a good idea because of the system that the 49ers run. If you're going to pick him up, you pick him up for insurance. Do the 49ers owe him a call? Maybe they really don't. They don't technically owe him anything, but they should at least put in a bid for him for that. I'm not saying he's going to save the 49ers, but if you want to look at it, cool, but I don't think they desperately need him, if you know what I'm saying. So I kind of see where Lewis was coming from with that, but like you said, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, gonna be interesting to see what happens there. Does he get picked up, or do the 49ers even pick up, or do they, they picked up, I know they signed Josh Johnson from the practice squad, who's a veteran QB. They got Purdy.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I don't think they really need another quarterback, but I know, some
Mm-hmm.
people have said that they should, but who knows? But yeah, it'll be interesting to look out for. Now, probably one of the games of the day. Well, actually, let's do this one. The Raiders and the Chargers. And we didn't pick the Raiders again, and of course they won again this time in regulation, 27-20.
I think Christine is pulling her hair out right now.
Yeah, Derek Carr had 3 touchdowns. Passed 250 yards. Just say had 3 touchdowns. Of course, about the Avs had another 2 touchdowns. Of course, for the Chargers, of course, they had another chance that perhaps maybe win the game, but they couldn't do it. So, yeah. What do you think about this? What do you think about this game, Sid?
I saw some of this yesterday. I was flipping back and forth between this game and the Chiefs and Bengals. We'll get to that game in just a moment. But Justin Herbert completed a 4th and 12 pass to Keenan Allen for a touchdown. You think, okay, the Chargers are starting to get back into it, but they couldn't stop the run yesterday. They didn't get Derek Carr on the ground enough. And Josh Jacobs did his thing again yesterday, 26 carries for 144 yards and a touchdown for the Raiders. I know the Raiders are 5-7. The Chargers are 6-6. The Chargers are on the borderline on the outside looking in. But if you're the Raiders, I'm not saying they're going to make this miracle run to go to the playoffs, but you like the way they're playing right now. If you're a Raiders fan, you ask, where was this early in the season? You could have stolen a couple wins. You perhaps would be tied with the Jets for that last wild card spot right now.
Yes, you definitely could have, but I'm sure you're kicking yourselves right now if you're a Raiders fan. I mean, they go to 5-7. The Chargers fall to 6-6. This win could be the tiebreaker for the Raiders. Should it come down to between these two teams for that last wild card spot. So, we'll see what happens. I mean, I think, like you said, so I'm sure Raiders fans are probably kicking themselves, saying, "Where was this early in the season?" They had a couple of chances, perhaps maybe steal a couple of those victories. You probably would be right up there with the Chiefs. As we speak, for the AFC West. So, but I guess better late than never. So we'll see what happens after that. Now, probably the game of the week. You have the Chiefs, and the Bengals. The Bengals once again beating the Chiefs for the 3rd straight time, 27-24. Joe Burrow had 2 touchdown passes, 286 yards. Samaje Perine, 106 rushing yards. On the loser side, of course, Mahomes had 223 passing yards and a touchdown. But it was the defense. The defense, the Chiefs defense, unfortunately. And I heard the guy said I get up this morning, the Chiefs defense is really going to be the thing that kind of hinders them from going to the promised land.
Yeah, and they have a -4 turnover ratio so far this season. And so we talked about that Chiefs defense last year, Lakeena. It was nice until the playoffs, especially in that second half with Andy Reid and the Chiefs coaching staff did not make any adjustments. Cincinnati did, and that's why they ended up winning that game in overtime in last year's title game. But as far as yesterday is concerned, Cincinnati, as expected, got out to a hot start. The Chiefs made their comeback. Patrick Mahomes, did you see that Michael Jordan pose?
Yeah.
Almost that Heisman Trophy. Jordan posed into the end zone. I thought there was a chance that he might have fumbled as he was going into the end zone, but the replay saw it differently, and so that touchdown counted. But you mentioned Sammy Perine yesterday. He was the difference maker for the Cincinnati Bengals in the running game. Joe Burrow didn't make any mistakes. The offensive line was actually okay. Protected Joe Burrow from runs. Joe Burrow had 3 total touchdowns on the day, 2 passing, 1 rushing. But Cincinnati earned that victory yesterday. As we told you guys, the Chiefs, they're in trouble. And if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, you were watching the game closely yesterday, because if it comes down to the Bills and Chiefs again, you would like to have that game at home for the AFC
Mhm.
Championship game.
Yeah, as of right now, they actually, but they're kind of in the last column, so that should help them a little bit. So, and of course,
Mhm.
I'm sure if you're Buffalo, you're sending Joe Burrow and the Bengals a lot of wings, Buffalo wings right now.
Yes.
So yeah, so that definitely helps the Bengals, not only helps them, but because they're right there, because they got they're right there behind the Ravens in the AFC North, but you also have the wild card spots. Well, if you're the Bills, so
Mhm.
well, the top seed especially. So this should be interesting there to see what happens, especially the rest of the season. And look, the the Bills, I should say, have a tougher schedule than the Chiefs do. So that loss, by the Chiefs, against the Bengals could probably loom large there now. Going to Sunday night real quick, 54-19. I know they score the Cowboys over the Colts. They scored 33 points in the fourth. They were only up 2. What happened? Like, I looked up, I said, oh, the Colts might have a shot. Okay. No, they dropped 33 in the fourth quarter, tied for the second most points in any team by any team, in the fourth of any game in NFL history. The 07 Lions put forward the fourth against the Bears. You guys remember that one. And of course, the 1925 Chicago Cardinals scored 33 against the then Milwaukee Badgers. But yeah, you're going to match 1925. But yeah, so well, what happened? I mean, I guess the Cowboys, flipped the switch, I guess, in the fourth.
Yeah, shout out to our guy Tony Gill from NBC Sports Chicago, Lawrence Holmes podcast, the Sports Association. And he basically beat me in our first round of the playoffs yesterday. He had the Dallas defense, had the 49ers defense. They gave me 20 points, but the Dallas defense in the fourth quarter actually decided to show up, and that's what happened. But enough about my fantasy stuff. But the Dallas defense decided to show up in the fourth quarter. You mentioned Lakeena, it was a back and forth affair. The Dallas Cowboys offense, we know they predicate their offense on running the football. I know Tony probably got in a late touchdown on that 30-yard run, but Dak Prescott, you don't want him to carry this team, but he had some decent stats yesterday. He had an early turnover, but he overcame it. My guy CeeDee Lamb had a touchdown catch, thank goodness, but it was all about that defense in the fourth quarter, just putting a hammer down on a lesser opponent.
Right, yeah, because the Colts, they came back. Like I said, got within 2, but they came into gear. So the defense, stepped up, stopping the Colts, and I guess the offense just woke up, I guess. So interesting there, the result of that game. So okay, Sid, real quick, your studs and duds for week 13.
My first stud would be Terry McLaurin for the Washington Commanders. 8 catches for 105 yards in that game tying touchdown as the Commanders Giants ended up in the tie. AJ Brown for Philadelphia, my second stud next for Philadelphia. 8 catches, 119 yards, and 2 touchdowns as the Eagles destroy the Titans. And my third stud will be the Seattle Seahawks starting quarterback Geno Smith, 28 of 39, 367 yards and 3 touchdown passes as Seattle comes from behind to beat the Rams 27-23.
Ooh, good. Some good ones there. I'll give it to Joe Burrow, who is first 3 games against the Chiefs. He's 3-0, averaging 327 yards passing, 9 total touchdowns, and only 1 interception. I think he's only been sacked like twice. So that at least for right now, the Burrow has the Chiefs number. So that he's been going through that Chiefs defense like a butter knife. So I'll give him one of my studs. I'll give a stud to Tariq Woolen from like I said, for his league leading, tie for the league, I should say, with CJ Gardner-Johnson for INTs. Of course, it was his interception that kind of helped got the comeback going for the Seahawks. So gonna give him a stud. I'll give it to the Packers defense. I mean, keep up with the defense's name because they came back. Once they gave us some big plays, they settled down. They got the late interceptions by Fields, and they were able to kind of set Aaron Rodgers and the offense up to win the game against the Bears.
All right, our 3 duds. I'll start off with mine: the Jacksonville Jaguars, the New York Football Giants, and the Miami Dolphins.
I'll say the Denver Broncos, mainly because they couldn't, they had their shots to pull off that upset in Baltimore against the Ravens, especially with Lamar Jackson getting banged up. They couldn't do it. Of course, I'm sure we'll be saying bye-bye to Nathaniel Hackett, at the end of the season. I'll say the Rams. I hate to beat up on them, but with that loss to the Seahawks. They dropped to 3-9. That's the worst 12-game start by a defending Super Bowl champion in NFL history. They actually are the first team since the 03 Bucks to have a losing record after winning the Super Bowl. So that's definitely the worst record there. Look, it's just bad luck. And I'll say the dud. I'll say the Jets. I think you had plenty of Mike White especially. You had plenty of chances to win that game. From the Vikings to steal that one. Interceptions. I think one was dropped. So you got to win those types of games. I know Mike Greenberg is not very happy right now. Of course, as he's recovering from the flu. So get well soon, Greeny. But yeah, that's you're gonna be kicking yourself. You're a Jets fan from that loss.
Breaking news from the world of the NFL regarding the scheduling for Saturday, December 17th. We have a flex schedule change. I think all these games will be seen on Saturday, December 17th on the NFL Network. At noon, we have the Indianapolis Colts at the Minnesota Vikings. At 3:30, we have Baltimore at Cleveland. And then the nightcap at 7:15, we'll have Miami at Buffalo. So that is your Saturday schedule for Saturday, December 17th in the National Football League. All three of those games can be seen on the NFL Network.
Some could be playoff implications with some of those games. Also division implications as well with some of them. So definitely games to look out for and stream if you can. All right, real quick, Sid, as we go into Monday Night Football tonight, you got the Bucks as they host the Saints in the NFC South. And I just saw from Ian Rappaport that Vita Vila and Akeem Hicks will be back for the Bucks. So that should definitely help that defense. I know the Saints have had the Bucks number, especially in Tampa, but I think the Saints team just isn't very good this year. So I think if you're Tom Brady, I think if you can try to jump on that Saints defense early. I know that's been kind of a problem the last couple of times you played them, especially in Tampa. If they can get on them early, I think they should be able to kind of end this game pretty quick. And if you're the defense, you got Hicks and Vita back, so that should help that defense. Give Eddie Dalton all the hard time he can, and try to slow down that offense. I'll say this: the Medicast is back. That's all I'll say about that. So in case the game gets kind of boring, you want to have a little bit of entertainment. Go along with the game, especially if it ends up getting out of control. You can watch the Manning brothers.
And a couple of key players to watch out for tonight's game for Tampa Bay. The rookie running back Rashard White. He did well last week against the Cleveland Browns, and he should get some more carries tonight, especially with the injuries to Leonard Fournette. And number 2, Chris Godwin. The Buccaneers have been using him in the slot. I know Mike Evans has been covered very well these last few games, but Chris Godwin, look out for him tonight. You should expect us to have another breakout game. Tampa Bay, like you said, used the running game early, which just opens up the passing game for Tom Brady later on in the game to dissect that Saints defense, which has given them problems, as you mentioned in the past, but that Saints defense has been hit and miss so far this year. So if you're Tampa Bay, like you said, jump out on them early, and you should be able to get your record to 500, especially with that loss that the Falcons had yesterday. Take control of this bad NFC South. Looks like 8 or 9 wins is all it will take to win that division.
Yeah, absolutely. So, absolutely. So, of course, you can check out the game on ESPN. Also, you got the Minicast on ESPN2. Also, ESPN Deportes is going to be also streamed on ESPN Plus. So, different ways to watch this game tonight. So, all right, Sid, hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 is right ahead. Of course, the Bulls have a couple of games they probably should have won. We'll get to that. And then the rest.
We got some things to discuss with that team as well. This could get ugly before it gets better. ...
Of course, also the rest, the Lakers have won again. They're starting to get a little bit on a roll. Also the rest of stuff in the NBA, college football set their bowl matchups are set. Also their playoff matchups. I got something to say about that. A couple of big moves in baseball, to include one that might stun some folks. And of course, old school TV Monday. So a lot to do still coming up in hour 2. Lakeena McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Chicago. Hour number 2 coming up right after this.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean, you're
Do you know that you're in my lane?
No, not at all.
Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports, the Monday edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can find me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at Keenan McGee on the IG.
If you want to, we have less than 50 minutes left of this extravaganza. We call it Sports Talk Radio Show. If you want to get at us via the comments section, you can do so by going to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Typing your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid, we're going to talk some Bulls in a second, but you know what? We got to play some of these little large from yesterday's game against the Kings.
Yeah, he was like him. Bobo got hurt in college, and nice to see him recover. A little step mouse in the house. And then the driving kick. Patrick Williams got hit, no foul. 6 with the ball. DeRozan. Oh, yeah.
He's determined to score. He wasn't even looking to pass.
Io got right by Metu. Scoop for Dragic. Derek Jones Jr. cans it.
Sriracha.
And those highlights were Curtis
Williams slides on by and scoops it in. And a foul.
And one. Good play.
To go for the Bulls and Kings to end the Bulls road trip. DeRozan over Monk. Got it and a foul.
Confidence. Yeah, the defender draped all over him. Oh,
what a double dribble there.
Zach, double dribble.
Yeah, gave up a short 3 and Williams missed it. Oh, Zach LaVine.
Big time rebound by Zach LaVine. I thought Malik Monk was really the big difference.
Well, the Bulls held the Kings to 30% from 3.
And those highlights were courtesy of NBC Sports Chicago. Jason Benetti filling in for Adam Amin along with Stacey King as the Bulls go down to the Sacramento Kings by the score of 110 to 101. Zach LaVine finished with a game high 41 points. DeMar DeRozan added 18. He struggled shooting the ball from the field. You really did get anything from your bench, Lakeena? I know Malik Monk, as Stacey King mentioned in those clips, he had 20 points off the bench for Sacramento. And I'm going to refer this to the game last Friday at Golden State. The Bulls stayed in into the third quarter, where Golden State blew them out and the Bulls came back as of late. It was the same scenario in the sense yesterday. They got off to a little bit of a better start yesterday, but they lost their way to start the second half. They came back with a vengeance to start the fourth quarter, but they ran out of gas, Lakeena.
Yeah, they got it got down to I think like 2 or something like that. But then, Kobe White dribbled the ball off, I guess his foot or his ankle or something, and then that kind of started the wave there. I think the Kings went on like a 7-0 run after that, and they were to hold off the Bulls. So it was sort of one of those days where you thought that maybe they could have won both of those games. Maybe not the Warriors necessarily, because the Warriors. Steph would have done, what Steph thinks. Poole already had like 51 and bailed by the third quarter, so it really wasn't gonna do too much there. But yeah, I mean, look, this win. Look, the Kings are better. Again, look at that Bulls Twitter. I'm guessing that you guys don't watch a lot of Kings basketball. This team's gotten a lot better. They're 13-8. They got some solid players on that team. Of course, you got Harrison Barnes, so like the old guy on that team. You got, of course, Keegan Murray, of course, the rookie from Iowa. DeMonte Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, just some really solid. Kevin Huerter. I mean, look, a good mix of talent. So the Kings have actually been looking pretty good this year. So I know folks want to bitch and moan about, oh well, this is not the Kings team from a few years ago. So I think folks need to kind of just chill out on that. Mike Brown, I think, is definitely in the running for Coach of the Year, a very early running, right up there with Coach of the Year honors, I feel like. But I mean, look, the 3-point for the Bulls. I mean, they shot 36%, but they were 9 for 25. That's not going to win you a lot of games and such. Just a bad start. And look, Zach had 41, which is a season high for him, but there was really no other help after that. I mean, DeRozan, had his struggles. He didn't attempt a 3, but they actually, the Kings, give them credit for getting on him early on. Vooch was Vooch. He had 12 points and 6 boards. Caruso didn't have any points. Maybe having Caruso in the line. I know Billy Donovan wants to experiment with different guys in the lineup. So maybe Caruso's probably not the guy to do it though. He went 0 for, maybe not good. And the bench just wasn't no help. I mean, look, Dragic and Drummond. I heard somebody say, well, they've seen enough of them. Well, look, if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't have 9 wins. These half those wins are thanks to Drummond and Dragic. And so for anybody that want to say that they've seen enough of them, I mean, what games have you been watching? But it is what it is with that. But look, this team needs a shooter and such. Look, yeah, I know they're still they're right outside the play-in part. I still think the Bulls can get into a run. They're off until Wednesday when they play Washington. But I feel like this is they were what 2-4 in this road trip. Well, they probably could have won 1 or 2 more of those games.
And you beat Milwaukee.
Yeah,
with Giannis on the floor.
and Utah as well. So, but yeah, that Thunder game, they lost in overtime. That was a tough one. They probably could have won that Warriors game maybe if things had been right. The Kings, I think that dribble off Kobe's foot. I think had not happened, I think they would have won this game yesterday. So it is what it is with a lot of these games. You're gonna have these kind of games throughout the season. So. I know folks want to freak out. Folks want to say tank. Folks want to say trade everybody, but just shows you guys don't know too much about NBA basketball. Go ahead, Sid.
I was going to ask you that question since the Bulls are currently 9-14, 5 games under 500. I know next week, for the ones who signed free agent contracts, they'll be eligible to be traded. I think that's the rule goes. So around next Wednesday or Thursday, trades can actually take place. Lakeena, and there's been a lot of conversations going on, like you mentioned, with Bulls Twitter and few folks of mine via my text chain. If you're if you're Arturas kind of chauvinist, if you're GM Mark Eversley, you kind of answered my question, but I want to give this question out to Bulls fans out there. You can answer our question at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your answers in the comments section. If you're GM Mark Eversley, you're AK, do you consider at least not blowing it up all the way, but blowing it up halfway? Because let's be honest here, it's not. The news so far for Lonzo Ball is not good, at least from what we hear. Maybe still doing some things behind the scenes we don't know about, but we'll see what happens with Lonzo Ball. He tries to make his way back on to the team after the offseason knee surgery. But this is much deeper than thinking that Lonzo Ball's return is going to save your season. Do you trade Vooch now, even though he's looking for a contract extension? Do you trade DeMar, who's a free agent after next year?
No.
Some people say that you should trade Zach, even though there's some reports that him and Billy Donovan still having friction. Who's going to take Zach LaVine's contract? I don't see it, so you stuck with him.
No. Okay. Look, this is a team that was a 1 seed last year. COVID and injury, especially Lonzo's injury. So anybody that wants to say they should blow it up or somebody blow it up, I mean, look, they could go on a run, and if they do go on I'm not saying that they will, but it could happen. We've seen this happen in the NBA. But look at the Jazz. I mean, they had a nice showing earlier this season. They were like the top seed I think they're like the second seed at the West at the highest at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're down to a 9. So a lot can happen. So for anybody that wants to say that, look, I'm not going to say they're going to go into this long 10-game winning streak. But if they do, I don't want to hear anybody say that, oh, well, we were sorry about that. No, don't do it. If you want them to tank, let them do it. But I'm not going to say they should tank. I'm not going to say they should semi-blow it up. So look, Miami, they've been getting better. I didn't hear any Miami Twitter say, hey, let's trade Jimmy or let's trade Kyle Lowry. I haven't heard anybody say that. So for anybody that wants to do this whole hey, let's blow it up, let's semi-blow it up. Or for what? What are you gonna get? You don't have nothing to give. So I know there was a report that came out about the Lakers having internal discussions for a DeMar or Vooch trade.
Mm-hmm.
With what? You're not going to trade Anthony Davis. They don't want Russell Westbrook's contract, so just stick to their trade machines and keep them to themselves. That's all I'll say there. Let's go to the rest of the NBA because my blood pressure's going up, and I'm gonna have to tell some Bulls fans to go shove it, and also certain Bulls fans who are pretty famous around here who are in some of these sports stations to shove it, but I'm not going to do that. But let's talk about the rest of the NBA for this weekend. Some really good, very interesting results. We'll start with AD since we're going with the theme here. A nice showing by AD yesterday. As the Lakers are kind of starting to pull it together a little bit. I mean, look, I think the Lakers are, like I said, they're still well within. They're not even in the play-in right now, but they have gotten better. They got a 130-119 win over Washington. Of course, 55 points was, I think, has a career high, or is a career high, I believe, for AD. And look, they're at 10 and 12. I'm talking about the Lakers, though they look pretty. They look a lot better.
Yeah, speaking of former Chicagoans, former Bulls, Daniel Gafford got posterized on the putback done by Anthony Davis yesterday. So that was a nice moment there. But looks like Anthony Davis is starting to come into form. Hopefully he stays healthy. That's been his problem throughout his whole career, especially since putting on the Lakers uniform. So let's see if they could keep that turnaround for the Lakers in their trend going up. LeBron James, he's still on the team. He's going after that scoring record from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Russell Westbrook is starting to play better off the bench. Austin Reeves, that second-year guy, he's starting to play well right now. Lonnie Walker, he's still that starting point guard. He's still contributing. The former San Antonio Spur, and Patrick Beverley, when he gets back from his suspension, we'll see if he continues to bring that defensive edge and that presence to that team, which they were so lacking last year. So if they say healthy, could the Lakers be maybe a little bit better than what people think? Sure. But right now, I want to see them do this for a couple more weeks and put a nice winning streak together, go on a nice stretch. If they could do that for the rest of this month, I think they'll be okay. But it's still a long way to go in my eyes.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I think, like you said, I think this could be if they can sustain it, which is probably gonna be hard to do because some of them are up there in age. So this
Yeah.
could be this might kind of looks like Darwin Ham is starting to figure things out, which I think that's what you want to see. So maybe
Mm-hmm.
this is probably could be a start or something. But look, we'll see what happens. There, Phoenix, easily beat the Spurs 133-95.
These are results from Sunday for those of you who
Yeah,
listen
so
back on our
yeah.
podcast.
Sorry about that. This is from yesterday. Yeah. So, yeah, gotta make sure we tell folks that 20 points for Devin Booker, 25 points for DeAndre Ayton leading the way. He also had 10 rebounds. You gotta think that the Suns are starting to still very good with CP3 and his injury, so they're still up there as probably one of the best teams in the West.
Yeah, like I said, short term they're doing well without Chris Paul, but whatever the injury that he has is mysterious to me. When will he return? We don't know, but they need him. They need him at some point this year, and if they don't get him, their playoff run it will probably be short lived. You saw what happened last year, and it didn't turn out well. So they need Chris Paul in the long run here to get healthy.
Absolutely. So yeah, so we'll see if they can sustain it. Memphis beats Detroit 122-112. John Morant led the way with 33 for the Grizzlies. So this is sort of like I saw a little bit of this game via this computer here. And yeah, I mean, like you gotta think that Memphis is still looking good. They're kind of one of the fun teams to watch. They're 14-9. But yeah, I mean, I feel like the Grizzlies are kind of like one of those teams where we'll see if they can kind of be that team that kind of can challenge the Warriors and the Suns and the Clippers and them.
They need John Morant to stay healthy. Remember, I think it was around this time last year he was hurt, and the Grizzlies went on that run without them winning 10 of 11 games or something to that effect. So you need John Morant healthy in the long run. Just like last year, they were flying under the radar. No one was talking about them, and they're constantly winning games. So it looks like this is the same scenario. The script is being played out this year. Like we said before the season started, more eyes on them now because of what happened during the playoffs last year. They beat the Timberwolves in the playoffs. They lost to the Golden State Warriors, lost John Morant to injury during that series. So a little bit more eyes on them this year than it was last year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do there. Of course, Boston beats Brooklyn by 11, 103-92. Once again, Jaylen Brown leading the way for the Celtics, 34 points, 31 points from KD in a losing effort. But it was really kind of Boston's defense that kind of helped propel them in that win. In that win over the Nets on Sunday.
Yeah, what happened to Kyrie? I did check out a little bit of that game because I was flipping between that and football. But what happened to Kyrie yesterday? He was a no-show.
Yeah, I'll say we really couldn't find Kyrie yesterday, but yeah, they're just not just an ugly performance. Definitely his worst performance since coming back. So yeah, that's a pretty brutal here. One more game real quick from yesterday's slate. The Pelicans beat the Nuggets 121-106. Jose Alvarado had 36 points off.
Matt Peck's guy from CHGO Chicago.
He loves it. If you guys have seen the post game, he loves Matt loves Jose Alvarado. That's his guy. That's the most points off the bench by any undrafted players. The starters were first tracked in 70-71. It's also the most points off the bench by any Pelicans player in their history, which is that's a pretty big shock there. So yeah, so they really didn't do too much. I mean, Zion had 25 points. There, but yeah, it was really like Alvarado's 36 off the bench that helped propel the Pelicans and then went over the Nuggets.
Hopefully Zion stays healthy. He's starting to put up some big numbers, and hopefully he can get another All-Star bid. And this will be, I believe, his second All-Star appearance if he's elected to go this year. So as long as he stays healthy, he gives New Orleans a better chance to win. They'll be a better threat in the Western Conference than a year ago when they just barely snuck in. Of course, he missed the entire year last year. I'm talking about Zion due to injury. So
yeah,
New Orleans is a better team with him on the floor than without, obviously.
Yeah, health is definitely going to be a conservative for Zion. So hopefully he can keep that health up. Now on Saturday, the Kings beat the Clippers 123-96. Sabonis had 24. Brandon Boston Jr. had 18 for the Clippers. I mean, the Clippers, they just really thought that maybe they could kind of keep it going, but look, they're doing
no
what
Kawhi,
they can.
no Paul George. You really can't control control injuries. I know they're trying to be careful with both of them, but there's so much you can control. You can't do this thing scared. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, 13 and 11, they are as of this recording. So the Clippers, they're still. I know there were some people's pick to win to win the West and get to the finals, but they need PG and Kawhi. I mean, they can't be. I know they're being delicate with their injuries, but you can't be running scared of this. Especially, I know they still got a little bit of time to get better, but you really can't do it at this point of the season. OKC beat Minnesota 135-128. Of course, this is their first game without Karl Anthony Towns. So you got to think hopefully the T-Wolves can kind of keep it going, but it's going to be hard to do. So we'll see what happens with that. The Bucks beat the Hornets 105-96.
They did it without Giannis.
Yeah, I must say, that was a pretty nice win there. But you really didn't do too much against the Hornets. So you really didn't need Giannis. You were fine with Giannis. You'll take the game off there. Dallas.
Yeah, and I think they're supposed to get Chris Middleton back sometime this week. I believe.
Yeah, they are.
Well.
Yeah, I think they're getting tomorrow. I think they're getting like on Wednesday. I think they get Middleton back. I thought Shams tweeted that out over the weekend. So yeah, they really need him back too. Especially if you're going to have Giannis, taking games off from time to time. The Mavs beat the Knicks 121-100. Going all the way back to Friday. Some interesting things happened on Friday. Miami, I'm sure it's made our girl on Tekka happy. Miami beat Boston in overtime 126-116. I saw a little bit of this game. But yeah, I mean, look, this was definitely a much needed win for Miami. They really need this because they're kind of in the same spot where the Bulls are right now.
Yeah, as we said before, Miami struggles to score at times on offense. Their identity is defense. They made some key plays down the stretch, and they made some key buckets in overtime, and that's why they earned a 4-point win on the road.
Absolutely. Some defensive stops late, so they were able to kind of, did some stops on defense, so that definitely helped them as the Heat held on to beat the Suns as they outscored them 10-6 in overtime. Of course, the Lakers, speaking of the Bucks, the Lakers got a big win against the Bucks, 133-129. This is sort of like, I was talking about there. I actually watched this game. So,
that was the Friday game from ESPN.
Yeah, the first game that ESPN doubleheader on Friday. AD had 44. LeBron kicked in with 28. And,
did you see that block that Giannis did on LeBron?
Yes, they did. Yeah, I'm sure he wasn't very happy with that. I'm sure LeBron was not pleased with that that block. If you saw his face after that. 15 points, from Russell off the bench, and no turnovers by neither LeBron nor Westbrook. I think that's the first. I think that's like the second duo since turnovers became official in 77. So they each have 10 assists. They each had 10 assists, but no turnovers too in the same game. DJ Augustine and Boris Diaw of the 2011 Charlotte Bobcats. Remember that team? But a big win for the Lakers against the Bucks.
Shocking.
Yeah, that was
who would have thunk it that the Lakers would put out a better effort against Milwaukee? But the Lakers were beating up on bad teams early in the year. It was nice for them to get a win against a better team on the road.
Yeah, and I think if you're the Lakers, I think you kind of you'll bounce off that confidence. So that's probably a good thing there. Like I said, we'll see if they can get it going. Philadelphia and Memphis. Memphis beat Philly 117-109. John Morant had 28 points leading the way there. Despite Embiid's best efforts, he had 35 for the Sixers.
Yeah, hopefully if you Philadelphia, you need some guys healthy. You need Embiid to stay healthy because you have not only James Harden now. I know he's supposed to make his return, I believe, in the next couple of weeks. I know Tyrese Maxey is out and a couple other guys are out. So Philadelphia, if you just hold down the fourth and play 500 ball, you should be fine. Because I know it's Boston and Milwaukee than everybody else in the East, but I don't think maybe Boston to a lesser extent Milwaukee, but outside those two teams, no one's going to really run away with the East. But if you Philadelphia, you just stay healthy, play 500 ball till some of your key guys get back, you should be okay.
Yeah, you really should. Speaking of the East, Brooklyn beat Toronto 114-105. Kyrie had a better effort in this game on Friday. He had 27 points leading the way there. Also, Houston upset the Suns, as in at 122-121. So, yeah, that's interesting. I know Phoenix fans were not happy with this result.
No, Houston's still a young team. They're trying to get some pieces. They're still trying to improve.
All right, so let's get into this week's games. some good ones here. You got the tonight. On gotta say that for folks that will be listening to this later on. The
Tonight,
Clippers,
Monday.
yeah, Clippers and the Hornets at 6 o'clock as they continue their East Coast road trip. Talk about the Clippers, Bucks, and Magic. OKC and Atlanta. That should be a fun one there too.
Oh, Trae Young and Nate McMillan having beef. Trae Young
Yeah,
misses
they are.
Friday's
Yeah.
game against
I heard.
Denver, which Atlanta ended up winning. But Trae Young's he wanted to rehab a certain way. Nate McMillan said, "You play or don't play at all." Trae Young said, "I'm taking my ball and going home." So we got to monitor that situation.
Yeah,
We'll
I
see if
heard
he
it.
plays tonight. Talking about Mr. Trae Young.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's something to look out for. I heard about that news, and that was sort of like that was kind of old school versus new school there. But hopefully they'll be able to figure it
Yeah.
out. Boston and Toronto. That should be a fun one at 6:30. Philadelphia and Houston. That should be interesting. Miami and Memphis. That should be a fun one at 7 o'clock. Phoenix and Dallas. That's a 7 o'clock game on NBA TV. And Indiana faces Golden State. I think Golden State. That should be a fun one there over in the Bay Area.
Yeah, the Golden State should win that game by 20. Tomorrow, Tuesday night, we'll have the Lakers and Cavaliers do battle. That's the first game, that Tuesday night TNT doubleheader. That's at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And also at 6:30, we'll have Detroit visiting Miami to play the Heat. And at 9 o'clock, the second half of that Tuesday night TNT doubleheader, we'll see the Dallas Mavericks traveling to Denver to take on the Nuggets.
And on Wednesday, you got the Clippers and Orlando. No, they're doing this whole back-to-back thing still. I don't know why. No, I'm not repeating myself. Charlotte and Brooklyn. That should be an interesting one there at 6:30. The first game of the ESPN Wednesday doubleheader, you got Atlanta and the Knicks. We'll see. We'll see if we see Trae Young versus Julius Randle. They've had some good games in the last couple of years. Lakers continue their road trip as they face the Raptors at 6:30. Of course, Bulls host the Wizards. Hopefully they can get it together. OKC meets Memphis at 7, and the Kings and the Bucks at 7.
And rounding out that Wednesday schedule at 7 o'clock Chicago time, we'll have Indiana and Minnesota. Also at 7 o'clock, Detroit will take on the New Orleans Pelicans down in the Bayou. At 8 o'clock, the Warriors will play the Jazz. So those two teams are always interesting when those two teams get together. In the second half of that Wednesday night ESPN doubleheader at 9 o'clock, we'll have the Boston Celtics visiting the Phoenix Suns in the Valley of the Sun.
NBA Finals preview, perhaps. We'll see.
Maybe
next spring we'll see. Thursday, couple NBA TV games. In between Houston and San Antonio. You got the Clippers and the Heat. That's the first game, that NBA TV doubleheader at 6:30. And you got Denver and Portland, the second half of the NBA TV doubleheader. So that should be an interesting one.
And then rounding out that Thursday night schedule, we'll have the Houston Rockets taking on the San Antonio Spurs from San Antonio at 7:30. So that's your schedule for the National Basketball Association for this upcoming week.
What's up, Brandon? Our buddy Brandon Schutz. What's up, Brandon? Yeah, we're doing good. When the Rockets playing, the Rockets actually we just mentioned the Rockets, so you came at the right time. So thank you, Brandon. But so we're gonna take a really quick break. We're gonna talk some college football. Some little shake up. I have my beef with some of the rankings. Well, I'll get to that in a second. Some big baseball news too. A couple big signings, and also, of course, old school TV Monday. I know I'm sure Sid's got a good one this week. So Lakeena McGee, Sydney Brown still got a lot to do today. The last half hour of Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks? They can be a real lifesaver. I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Oh, I'm sorry. Welcome back to Second City Sports. We're live and live in color for a Monday edition. This is our last segment of the show for today. We have less than 25 minutes left. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keita McGee on the Twitter and at Keita McGee on the IG.
You have any questions or comments left for us for our show for today? You can always go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. A whole lot of stuff, but not a whole lot of time. Lakeena, let's get into it. Let's review championships Saturday from the world of college football. We'll start with last Friday night's Pac-12 championship game as the college football playoff field was shaken up a bit as the number 11 Utah Utes, they defeated the number 4 ranked team in the country, the USC Trojans, 47-24 in Las Vegas. Caleb Williams, who injured his hamstring later on in that game, he was 28 for 41 for 363 yards and 3 touchdowns. Lakeena, the 17-3 lead was crucial for USC to start off that game, but I think the turnaround happened in that game when they went forward on fourth down. They had a penalty called on them. Utah took advantage of that. They scored 2 touchdowns to tie the game at halftime, and then they really took over in the second half. USC could not run the ball as they only scored 7 points total in that second half. Utah scored 23 unanswered points in that fourth quarter to come out on top. Utah really deserved that victory. They were more active defensively, especially after being down 17-3.
You had one job, USC. You could have gotten a spot in the playoff. You had one job. That's all I'm going to say about that. They were 64-5 in the last 10 seasons, when leading by 14 points or more. 4 of those 5 losses have been against Utah, so Utah has had their number in recent years. I mean, look, I'll give Utah all the credit, but you can tell that once Caleb Williams got hurt, ankle, hamstring, ankle, whatever it was, you can tell that he wasn't the same after that. The defense wasn't helping. Yeah, you're going to have to start actually recruit defensive guys are Lincoln Riley. You're gonna have, especially gonna be going to the Big Ten next year. Just saying. So it's sort of one of those things where you're kind of like, okay, yeah, you give Utah all the credit, but USC you crap the bed. There's no other way, to go about it. Kansas State wins their second Big 12 championship.
That was a
They
very
upset
exciting game to watch. I watched that whole entire thing. I was entertained from the word go. I told you, Lakeena, that we got off the air here on Friday. I was expecting some chaos in terms of the BCS. No, not the BCS. Good grief. The college football playoff. I wanted TCU to lose, but they did. But something else happened I didn't expect to happen. We'll get into that in just a moment. But getting back to this game, it was a hard-fought game by both teams. Kansas State went up first, then TCU came back. It was your classic battle back and forth game. You can feel the energy in the crowd in there outside of Dallas, Texas, and in Jerry's world. But that fourth down play in overtime, I forgot who my man was. I think it was Huggins, number 92 for Kansas State. He stopped the running back from TCU in overtime on 4th and goal, and then Kansas State went down and kicked the game-winning field goal. You thought that this would be the same scenario in the sense that, remember, these two teams met up a couple weeks ago. Kansas State had a big lead and blew it. You thought that same scenario was going to happen again. TCU, Max Duggan, he played the heck of a game. He took a couple of shots, but he hung in there and led TCU to that game-tying drive, which forced overtime. But K-State learned their lesson and got away with the victory in overtime at the end.
Yeah, I mean, you thought that once they saw there, because they were up big, early on, and I don't know if the K-State, forgot how to play defense. I mean, look, that's not as much Duggan as well as it was with Kansas State. Forgot how to tackle. Now, to their credit, though they did make some big defensive stops. I don't know why they didn't just have Duggan sneak it in, but I think Sonny Dykes was trying to be. You're not using logic, but yeah, I mean, look, K-State wins their, I believe it's their second Big 12 championship, and TCU should be number 4 in the playoffs, but we'll get to that in a second. But just not a good showing by TCU, and I warned y'all about TCU, but okay, so I warned y'all about a lot of other things, but it is what it is. There now, going to the American.
Real quick, Lakeena. Shouts out to Deuce Vaughn, the running back from the Kansas State Wildcats. He had 26 carries, 130 yards, and a touchdown. He was really the MVP of that game.
Oh, absolutely! Yeah,
he was the MVP of that game.
Yeah, he was, and as he should have been. I mean, he was. Look, he was the reason why that K-State went ahead in their first meeting. I'm talking about their meeting with TCU. They stopped running the ball with him that first meeting. That's why TCU was able to come back. But that's another discussion for another time. But Tulane was their first conference championship in football, I should say. They avenged the early season loss to UCF, being their 45-28 in the American Championship. Michael Pratt had 4 touchdown passes, 394 yards. Tajay Spears, if you haven't heard much about him, you should. 199 yards and a touchdown. It was really their run game. And look, Tulane we're going to the New Year's Six bowl game. So,
congratulations to them.
Yeah, congratulations to Green Wave and that program. So, definitely a boost up, especially after having the last decade with them.
Yeah, the school of former Chicago Bear running back Matt Forte, so I know he's very proud right now. Going back to the ACC championship game, the Clemson Tigers destroyed North Carolina 39-10. For Clemson, their standout player, Mr. Cole Turner, he had 3 catches for 101 yards. Lakeena, Clemson dominated the first half, 24-10, and then just cruised away in the second half, scoring 15 unanswered points.
Yeah, Kate Kubnik, I should say, had 279 pass yards and a touchdown. He was actually brought in. Dabo was using different quarterbacks. I'm sure a lot of Clemson fans are probably kicking themselves because they feel that wondering what would have happened had he had been the starter instead of DJ Ugualie, who is now in the transfer portal among many others. There's too many names to count on that one, but it's there. I think this is their 8th. Dabo's 8th conference championship in the ACC. He's just second behind Nick Saban, and of course he passed Bob Stoops. He's now in second place by himself. So they're going to be playing Tennessee in the Orange Bowl. That's a lot of orange. So finishing strong there with Clemson. Just imagine if they had not lost to South Carolina. I mean, they would probably be up there in the playoff. But
to Indianapolis, Indiana, where at Lucas Oil Stadium, where the 2022 Big Ten championship game took place, and it was number 2 Michigan. The Wolverines dominated the Purdue Boilermakers 43-22. Aiden O'Connell for Purdue, 32 of 47, 366 yards and 2 picks. For Michigan, Blake Corum. Who's Blake Corum? He's an injured running back, and who replaced him was Donovan Edwards, who had a big game last week at Ohio State at the Horseshoe. He had another big game for the Wolverines, 25 carries, 185 yards in the score. And for Purdue, Mr. Charlie Jones, 13 catches for 162 yards. Lakeena, I did check out some of this game. Purdue had their chances to get back into the game, but Michigan's defense, which we argued it wasn't as strong this year as it was last year, but they made some key plays down the stretch and really pulled away in that fourth quarter. They held Purdue to only 9 total points in that second half.
Yeah, like I said, that defense, that defense is second half defense, so they've been able to dominate and whatnot. So of course, Donovan Edwards, like you said, had almost 200 rushing yards, a touchdown. Of course, JJ McCarthy had 2 for 3 touchdowns. It was really their defense that kind of slowed them down. And they're 13-0, first time winning back to back, and I think like in forever for Michigan. Also, is their first time winning 13 games in school history, so that was a huge for them. So yeah, look, and of course the whispers from the NFL is now getting loud again, with Harbaugh. So I don't know why they did. I don't know.
I know.
Ian Rappaport said, well, they don't. The NFL teams don't believe it, but the man said he wasn't going anywhere. So like, okay, y'all, okay, fine, y'all want to look stupid, okay, that's it. But okay, yeah, congrats to Michigan. They go to the playoff. Also, too, of course, number one going to the playoff is Georgia. They beat LSU 50-30. I know it was the score makes it a little weird, but Georgia really did kind of dominate this game at times. Yes, LSU had their shots to kind of keep it close, but just when you thought that they did, Georgia has a big play. Stetson Bennett had 4 touchdown passes. Kenny McIntosh had 2 rushing touchdowns for them. It was really their defense that kind of they gave us some big plays early, but they were able to make the plays when they needed to. So the Bulldogs, were able to win their second SC championship in I think like 6 years.
I didn't turn to this game. I just saw the highlights, Lakeena. As we said on Friday with our guy Sean Davis from the Lucky Lefty podcast, this game really didn't mean anything to Georgia. You thought that LSU will put up a bigger fight, but they just don't have the talent next to Georgia right now. So, and Georgia outscored LSU 21-3 in that second quarter to basically put that game away. So, you hope for LSU use this game as a temple to have your building stone, build your recruiting for next year. Yeah, says we know we got Oklahoma and Texas coming in the SEC in a couple of years, which competition is going to get tougher. If you're Brian Kelly, Georgia is the parameter, and we got to get better talent in here if we're going to match up and beat Georgia. So yes, the score looked ugly on paper, but we still have a long way to go.
Absolutely. So, of course, the bowl matches are set. There's like 40 of them, so we're not going to go through all of them. But we said a couple weeks before we might talk about some that are coming up. But really, sort of like the big ones here. You got, of course, number 1, Georgia will be facing Ohio State, who gets in thanks to USC losing. They take Georgia and Ohio State will face each other in the Peach Bowl, and number 2 Michigan will face TCU in the Fiesta Bowl. Georgia becomes the 4th different team to earn the number 1 seed in the college football playoff. I've got some bones to pick here. I'll keep it short. TCU should have been 4. I know people want to play the card of, well, they forced overtime. No, they lost. And I don't want to hear Ohio State. Well, Ohio State didn't play in their conference. Look. Their loss again. Look at who the loss was. It was against Michigan. They lost. TCU lost to K-State, a 3-loss K-State team, mind you. And you probably could have easily lost to the first time. You wouldn't even be in the conversation. So I don't want to hear people say, "Oh, well, TCU deserved to be in the 3rd." No, they shouldn't have. So, and look, the fact that Alabama is right ahead of Tennessee when they beat Tennessee, I got a bone to pick there. But again, that's another different conversation for another time. But it just they got the teams right, but they got the seedings wrong.
And for those of you that want to yell Alabama, no way, they lost, especially early in the year to Tennessee, and they lost again late. So no to Alabama. And like you said, Tennessee, they had their shot, but they got dominated by Georgia. They didn't show up. So yeah, like I said, I'm with you. They got the teams right. I thought TCU was going to be out, but like I said, the seeding, I kind of question that as well. But I think you're still going to have some good games on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, those games will be on New Year's Eve. Hope we'll have somebody on to help preview these games because, this should definitely be interesting. I would take the over on both ends, but that's just me. But but if you guys wonder where Illinois is, we're not gonna go. Like I said, we're not gonna go through all of them because they're like I said, there are 40 of these. But Wisconsin will be facing Oklahoma State in a guaranteed rate bowl in Phoenix at Chase Field. Let me see. Arkansas versus Kansas in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl because apparently I guess because Kansas was supposed to play Missouri. Apparently K-State didn't want to play Missouri. Oh no, Mizzou didn't want to play Missouri in the Liberty Bowl. Mike Berman, come on now. Are y'all running away from Big 12 matchup? Come on now. That's so wrong. Syracuse, I guess your Minnesota Golden Gophers sit in the Pinstripe Bowl, the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl. That'll be on Thursday at December 29th, I should say. Liberty Bowl will be on the 28th of December. Oklahoma and Florida State in the Cheez-It Bowl that same night. And Texas and Washington, that should be a fun one in the Valero Alamo Bowl.
Yeah, that should be a high-scoring game as well. I think December 30th, Illinois will face Mississippi State. That should be an interesting one.
Yes, it should. Hold on, let me see. Let me see if I get that thing right. Yeah, January 2nd. That's the reliable.
Oh, January 2nd. I'm sorry, not December 30th. Yeah, sorry, January 2nd. I stand corrected. Yeah, so I'll definitely be home to be watching that one. So that's going to be interesting. I know Mississippi State, they kind of had a bounce back year. So did Illinois. Illinois, even though they lost 3 or 4 to finish out their season, they didn't have a great year. They had a good year. Not a great year, but a good year. If Illinois would have won at least 2 of those 3 games on that 3-game losing streak, they probably would be playing in the New Year's Six Bowl like Penn State's going to. I think they'll face Utah in the Rose Bowl this year.
Yep.
I'm definitely looking forward to that one. I don't know if you're going to get a classic like you did between Ohio State and I believe Oregon last year. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but in last year's Rose Bowl. But Penn State and Utah should be a good one this year.
Yeah, this should be a fun one. Of course, Penn State will be off, so that I'm sure James Franklin will have his guys ready. I think they can give Utah a game. I think that's going to be probably one of the more competitive bowl games. I should say the Gator Bowl should be a fun one. I gotta find out. Let me see where it is. It's on the 30th, December 30th, which is on a Friday. You got Notre Dame and South Carolina and Jacksonville. That should be a fun one. Of course, Shane Beamer and his guys, they came out, swinging, beating the next year, the last year, including against Clemson. So that should be a fun one. Marcus Freeman, leading Notre Dame to a Gator Bowl. I know our buddy Sean Davis, and of course, also to Oblique Zaire will probably try to make a way to sort of get down there for that game. But that should be a fun one.
Yeah, that should be a fun one. Also, too, let's see, Northwestern didn't get in this year. Like I said, Illinois, as I mentioned, they'll play Mississippi State on January 2nd. It was another matchup. I know you had the matchups in front of you, Lakeena. I don't, but it was another matchup that I was looking forward to. I think it was on January 2nd. It was an early game. But it's like, even though most of those games are not on quote-unquote broadcast.
The Citrus Bowl?
Yeah, the Citrus Bowl. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one a little bit.
LSU and Purdue, that'll be That'll be on January 2nd. Yep.
Yeah, I'll say Caden O'Donnell, especially coming off of that bad performance in the Big Ten title game, he could redeem himself. I think LSU could be had.
Yeah, that should
I'm
be
just saying. That's my rough draft pick for right now. I'm not making that official just yet.
Well, yeah, I'll say, you still got about a couple more weeks for the man to make your picks for some of these bowl games. Also, sure, we'll get Alabama and K-State. That should be an interesting one there. We'll see how up Alabama will be for this game. You consider that they thought they had an outside shot to get into the playoff. Also, on January 2nd, should be a good one. You got the Cotton Bowl Classic between USC and Tulane. I think Tulane will probably have a home field advantage since, not necessarily a home field advantage, but you got, it'll be at Jerry's World at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. That should be a fun one. We'll see how, how USC is geared up for this game. Hopefully, Caleb Williams will be a little, we'll feel him real pretty good. After that hamstring, he'll have a little bit of time to heal up. But
is he eligible for the NFL draft this year, or is that next year?
I think it's next year, I believe.
Okay.
So
because I was getting ready to say, if he was eligible this year, I would sit this out. But since it's next year, he should try to play if he's healthy enough to play.
Yeah. He's going to be eligible to play next year. I think, or he might be a redshirt sophomore, so he could be eligible if he wants. But I think he said he wants to stay at USC to perhaps try to win a championship. Because let's be honest, USC overachieved this year. No one really thought that they would make the Pac-12 championship game. So they should be back next year. They'll have some guys on defense that can play defense, and they're gonna have a lot of JUCO guys coming in there. There's like a plethora of them down there over there in California. So they should be especially going to the Big Ten next year. Yes, you're right. You got to recruit some defensive guys. Just saying. Of course, we talked about Utah and Penn State. That's gonna also be the Rose Bowl. Of course, we talked about it earlier. That should be an interesting one there. You got Iowa and Kentucky in the Music City Bowl on the, December 31st. Yeah, I think that's it. Maryland and NC State in the Mayo, the Duke's Mayo Bowl. I hope no one gets dumped by Mayo. Neither one of the coaches. I'm just saying. Yeah, that shame people getting dumped by Mayo last year was enough for me. I'm just saying.
What happened to the Peach Bowl? And I know they had the Peach Bowl, but what happened to the PlayStation Bowl? Now you have the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl. What the hell is up with that? Shout out to Jimmy Kimmel, but what can we get the Arsenio Hall Bowl?
Yeah, I know. That was a little bit weird. I was surprised that he didn't have one back in the day. The old
right.
Bowl. The Holiday Bowl will be Oregon, North Carolina. That should be a fun one. There. Let me see. Let's see who's playing at the Jimmy Kimmel Bowl. Let me look that up real quick. As we're gonna be we'll have more about it. We'll preview the college football, these bowl games coming up. Of course, you got a few more weeks. Middle Tennessee State, San Diego State, and the Hawaii Bowl. That's always fun when guys get to go to Hawaii. That's always a fun one. Baylor and Air Force and the Armed Forces Bowl. Let me see that Jimmy Kimmel Bowl if I can find that real quick.
The LA Bowl. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, really?
Yeah, that's the second case. Washington State and Fresno State.
Okay.
And that Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl is presented by Stifle. So that'll be on the 17th of December. So
hopefully those schools will get a free trip taping of his show at least.
Yeah, I would hope so. As part of those prize packages. Yeah, because some of those prize packages are actually pretty cool. So you get PlayStations, you get iPhones, you get iPads, pros and such. So yeah, you get a nice little swag bag there. So so the bowl, like I said, we'll preview some of the bowl games. As they get closer and closer, of course, we'll try to get somebody on to preview the college football playoff games. So yeah, it should be a fun bowl season nonetheless. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Show Chicago. Lakeena McGee, Cindy Brown with you. Big coaching news. Off the field. Deion Sanders has left Jackson State to go to Colorado. Now, Sid, I want to know what you think about this real quick.
Yeah, several years I wanted him to stay at Jackson State. We talked about this early in the year. He wants to be respected. He wants to build his platform on a bigger program, and which that's within his right. Of course, he wants to be paid respectfully. I know he has all the money in the world from endorsements and from his play days in the NFL, but I think Colorado's a good spot for him, even though it's going to be in the quote-unquote new Pac-12 conference. I think he's going to do well in Colorado. He was talking to some of the players over the last few weeks, and he already has some of those players on board for next season. And this is how business is done for college football right now. I know he was excited yesterday during his press conference. I definitely will be watching him in Colorado next year. I know Colorado's been on hard times for the last several years. And it wasn't like it was back when we were growing up, looking when Cordell Stewart made a name of himself, especially in that game against Michigan, legendary Hail Mary passing at the big house back in the day. But yeah, Colorado's been on some hard times. And Deion Sanders, he's going to bring some attention to their program, but eventually you're going to have to start winning some games. And I think he'll eventually do that. But the blue play that he left at Jackson State, hopefully another former player, another former coach that is relevant can keep up with that playbook and help keep the HBCU and all HBCU football programs up on that level.
Well, they didn't have the resources either. I know people want to say, well, why he should have stayed at Jackson State. There's always going to be a stepping stone job for him. And like I know that some people say, he should have stayed for the culture. Look, Colorado's got the resources. They have a rich history. Yes, they haven't been great, in recent like 10 years, but they were competing for the national championships. They won a national championship back in the early 90s. So they were competing. They had, top recruits and such. So it's not, look, it's not like they have not won anything. So look, they've got the facilities and such. So look, I think, he did what he wanted. He got, more eyes to HBCUs. He got, folks to take HBCUs seriously. So, look, he did what he needed to do. And look, we'll see if, some of those guys go with him. I know a lot of those guys I know there was a clip of him and I know people were freaking out about it, but look, I mean, that's actually more than what he said. I mean, he's actually said some nice things about the program. Look, guys, you want to come in, and a lot of those players have bought in. I'm sure there are going to be some guys that are going to transfer, but that's how it usually is when new regimes take over. But I think most of them will stay. And like I said, it should be interesting in the Pac-12 next year with USC, UCLA, finish up. They're running the Pac-12 now. You got Deion, coaching the Pac-12 now, so it should be interesting nonetheless.
Yes, and all those talented players that he got to commit to Jackson State. He'll get even better talent to commit to Colorado. Remember, he knows most of these kids because he ran those camps for all those years when he was doing NFL networking before he got into coaching. And he still know people that know people that that have new kids coming in. So recruiting is not going to be a problem for him.
Should be interesting to see what happens there. Now, real quick, Sid, as we wrap things up before we go to Old School TV Monday, some baseball news, and this came across the wire. I know you're not going to be very happy with this, Sid. Trey Turner, who both the White Sox and the Cubs have been vying for, has agreed to an 11-year, $300 million deal with the Philadelphia Phillies. So the Phillies, get a little bit deeper in the shortstop and all-star shortstop. I know he didn't have a good showing the last year, but he is a very productive hitter. So him and Bryce Harper, that might be.
I didn't think Trey Turner would get that big of a contract, but congratulations to him. I know Bryce Harper's going to miss the first half of next year because of the elbow injury, but Philadelphia has deep pockets, paying those two guys over $700 million combined. Good grief.
They got deep pockets down there apparently, but yeah. Also, too, now 3-time Cy Young Award winner Justin Verlander has agreed to a 3-year deal with the New York Mets. I didn't see that.
It was 2-year.
Well, the third year is an option. So
okay.
The third year is an option. So yeah, I saw that. Make sure I saw the cross wires. Yeah, the third year is an option year. So what do you think about that? I mean, wow. I
know he's 40 years old. I know he still thinks he has a lot left. Of course, he won his Cy Young Award this past season with the Houston Astros as they he helped them win their World Series for the first time since 2017. I know the Dodgers were looking at him for a little bit, but this is a good signing for the New York Mets, considering they lost Jacob deGrom, who signed with the Texas Rangers for 5 years. So I know their manager is Bruce Bochy down there, so he's trying to field a competitive team down there. But for the Mets, this is a good signing, and due to the fact that they lost Jacob deGrom.
Yeah, how do you think about the ground? So I think he had like 160 million or something like that. A no trade, and that's crazy. So I guess the Rangers, they got deep pockets, and we'll see if they contend. We'll see if they contend next year. They could contend for a wild card spot. I mean, they got a lot of young players, so we'll see.
They got Marcus Semien last year. I know he did all right, but now that you have Bruce Bochy as your new manager, you still have some young guys still coming up, and these could be interesting for Texas, but I need to see more from them because you still I know Oakland's rebuilding, but you still have Houston there. You still don't forget about Seattle now, even though they got on the wild card round. They still have some young guys there hanging around for a while, so it's not going to be easy for Texas.
They got a lot of money to spend too. Yeah, I'm talking about. So yeah, we'll see if they can make some big plays, big moves as we get into. Hopefully, either one of our Chicago teams to make some big moves too. So maybe just see what happens there. Okay, Sid, real quick. Old School TV Monday. What is this week?
Let's head up to the state of Minnesota and salute the ABC TV comedy series Coach. It was an American sitcom television series that aired for 9 seasons on ABC from February 28th, 1989 to May 14th, 1997, with a total of 200 half-hour episodes. The series starred Craig T. Nelson, and he did this after the movie Action Jackson back in the day, for those of you old schools our age and older, as Hayden Fox, head coach of the fictional NCAA Division 1A Minnesota State University Screaming Eagles football team. For the last 2 seasons, Coach Fox and his supporting characters coached the Orlando Breakers, a fictional National Football League expansion team. The program also starred Jerry Van Dyke as Luther Van Dam and Bill Frankenbach as Michael Dubinsky, assistant coaches under Fox. The role of Hayden's girlfriend and later wife, Christine Allstar, a television news anchor, was played by Shelley Fabers. Real quick, Lakeena, some of the guest stars that appeared on that program, we won't go through all of them, but it was Keyshawn Johnson.
There are too many.
But it was Keyshawn Johnson, Troy Aikman, the late great George Allen. Also, too, you had Pam Stone, Rob Schneider. You had Al Michaels, Lucy Liu, before she really broke out as a huge star. Lisa Kudrow as well. Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. Dick Buckets, a Chicago connection there. Drew Carey before he got his own TV show. Tim Conway, Mike Ditka, Vlade Divac. And also you had Christopher B. Duncan. If you don't know that name, remember the Jamie Foxx show, Broham? He did that role before he got the Jamie Foxx show in the late 90s on the WB. And also, too, you had Mike Farrell And also, too, you had Eddie George, Frank Gifford, the Lee Gifford, and Bob Greasy and Mary Hart, to name a few as the many guest stars on that show. Lakeena, I started watching that show in reruns in the late 90s. I think they're on the Power Station, WPWR TV here in Chicago for a few years, so I started catching it up there. I remember they were on ABC, but I didn't watch it when they were airing the new episodes on ABC. My late mother did, but I started catching up on those shows via the reruns. But it was a very interesting show. And I'll say Craig T. Nelson went from a serious actor to a comedic actor, and I thought he did the transition very well, just like Patrick Duffy did from Dallas to Step by Step during that same time for ABC.
Yeah, we'll do Step by Step at some point. Old School TV Monday. But yeah, real quick, I mean, look, when I saw that he was going to be playing a football coach, I'm like, a sitcom. I'm like, okay, that's kind of interesting. I've never seen him do a lot of comedy, but look, he did just that. I mean, it was cool. This kind of gave you like behind the scenes of what a college football coach is. In some form. Of course. They dealt with steroids and some of the various issues, but they kept it funny. They kept it light. Luther, Jerry Van Dyke, Lord rest his soul, was such a it's kind of like like the cool, cute, friend that was not the smartest, but he had a heart of gold and such. Bill Furgerbeck, who I thought was hilarious as Dauber. I mean, again, not the smartest guy, but again, he was such a big lug and such. Claire Carey, don't forget she played Hayden's daughter Kelly, so that she was sort of like the other thing there, and also too you got to also a little bit of his relationship with Christine. They were I know Christine. She was promoted to go to like a big city for like a network spot at one point. They broke up for a little bit, so I actually watched it on Wednesdays when it came on. I thought that was a cool, funny concept because you really didn't see that too much. You really did. They're actually one of the first shows to kind of go behind the scenes about sports and such. So that definitely kind of helped there. Like you mentioned all those, at least some of the guest stars that appeared on that show. Of course, Catherine Hellman, of course, came on the last couple of seasons as the owner of that semi-pro team that Hayden and the guys coach after leaving Minnesota State. Yeah, it kind of. It wasn't one of those shows that kind of it just got old. I feel like it aired for like 7 seasons, so it really wasn't nothing too it was like nothing. It just got old. It was one of those veteran shows that got old. It was like a show where like I was so bored. It kind of lost its luster a little bit especially after Christine and Hayden got married. Then of course Hayden and them ended up going coaching them to the pros. It kind of lost a little bit of that fun luster, so they now had to deal with pro problems and such. So that kind of 8 years. Look, it was a great run. I know it's streaming like on Pluto TV somewhere.
Yeah, it's on Roku TV.
Roku, I think Roku TV.
As of last year,
yeah, how ironic, but Roku television. So it is streaming. There some of the episodes are also on YouTube as well. At least some of them, not all of them, but. I think it was a great show for what it was, and I believe I think Craig T got nominated for a couple of Emmys at one point during the early runs of the show.
Yeah, he according to Wikipedia, he won the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actor in the Comedy Series, and then again in 1996 Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Guest Actor in the Comedy Series. Those Craig Nelson won the award in 92. And Tim Conway won for guest actor in the comedy series in 96.
Yeah, that was a funny episode that he did. So if you guys go check that out with that one with Tim, I think did he play Christine's father? I think if I'm not mistaken. If I might be mistaken about that. But yeah, that was a very funny episode where he appeared in. But yeah, I mean, look, I think he showed that he could do comedy. Like you saw the plethora of folks, and I think it aired like right before the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, too. When ABC had the Super Bowl a couple of years later, if I'm not mistaken. I think
you might be right. Yeah,
it was one of those Super Bowls that I think Coach aired before a new episode before. I might be wrong about that, but yeah, but look, it was a great show for what it was. Look, I mean, it kind of. I know he still he'll if you ask him about it now, kind of about Crazy Nelson. If you ask him about it now, he'll say nothing but great things about that show. So it was like I said, it was a great show, a very underrated show. I feel like.
Yes, so we salute the old school TV series sitcom from ABC Coach. All right, Lakeena, take us home.
You follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter, and Keena is going to be in the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sid Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80, SIDKID80, SIDKID80. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast at War on Anchor. We are available on all podcast platforms, including that iHeartRadio app. And give War Media a follow on all socials. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
And make sure you can catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV. You can catch us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, live and on demand.
Oh, absolutely. So, enjoy all the games, everybody. I know USA lost to the Netherlands in the World Cup.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah, sorry about that, folks. But yeah, look, I mean, a great showing by the United States. So, look, it is what it is with that. Face a very tough team. But yeah, the World Cup continues later on today. And I know Brazil is just hammering a career right now. And I know Croatia beat Japan in PK. So, the quarterfinal, the knockout stage continues throughout the rest of the day. I think the quarterfinals are, I believe, this weekend. So make sure you guys check that out. The U.S. isn't in it anymore. But look, you got NBA, you got NFL, coming up on Thursday. So yeah, we'll talk more about it, coming up, and we'll be right here with you. First, Sid, I'm Lakeena. This has been Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. You're not getting vaccinated. Wash your hands, because the flu's out there, folks. So make sure you guys wash your hands.
Yep.
And be good to each other. This has been Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you Friday.
Doubles. Holla.